Hey YouTube, it's just Blaze here, and I am back with a new video for you guys today. And today, we're going to be getting into some TikTok stories. These are going to be stitches from Audacity. I'm sure you guys have seen her on TikTok. She has a lot of good stitches with a lot of good stories. So we're going to be getting into these stories today. I will also be linking the creators that made the videos down below in the description. Please go check out their stories and give them a follow. Let's get into it.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entire.
Every time I tell somebody this story, they have the most horrified look on their face. And when I tell you, I have tried to record this video 10 times, and either the audio wasn't working or TikTok wouldn't keep my recording. So let's hope this one works, and I'm going to tell you what happened to me in 2022. So this happened when my son was about 5 months old. Him and I were sharing a room. Now, let me say this first. He was sleeping 8 hours completely through the night. I was getting enough sleep. I was sleeping the best I've ever slept currently, and he's a toddler right now. So,
oh, that's a good baby. That's a good baby right there. If the baby is that young and the baby lets you sleep through the night, job well done, Mom.
This is not sleep deprivation. I want to say that first and foremost. And there are other people who were involved, so let's get into it. I was about to go to sleep for the night, and I was scrolling on my phone. And I'm at my parents' house, by the way, at this point. So I roll over in my bed with my phone to face the direction of my bedroom door, which I had kept open before all of this happened. I hear somebody walking up the stairs, which I assume is my brother because he had lived there too at the time. But he stops at the top of the stairs and he kind of just like peeks into my room just a little bit, and I know it's him because it's like his face and his height and his hair. Like, he had an afro at the time. That was the outline of my brother. And so I look at him and I'm like, what are you doing? And he doesn't answer me. He just keeps staring at me. And I say again, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you just staring at me? At this point, because it's dark, I could only see the outline of him, or it moves in front, like right center in my door, and it's just staring at me. And I look at him and I'm like, Sam, what do you need? This all happened in 0.0005 seconds, okay? So as soon as I realize that that is not my brother, I sit up in bed, like jolt up in bed. And as I do that, I'm still staring directly at whatever it was. It just disintegrates like sand into the air. I don't know how else to explain it. I sound crazy, I know. Just sand, just disintegrates and disappears. I don't go to sleep that night. I'm wide awake, freaked the fuck out. But I don't.
Oh yeah, I don't blame you. I would have been freaked out too. That's crazy.
Say anything until the following week. So at this point, I shut my bedroom door because absolutely not. I'm about to go to bed again. I'm scrolling on my phone and I roll over once again to face the direction of the door. This time, in the pitch black, it's the outline of my son's father. And at first, I was like, why are you just standing there? Because he was living with us at the time. And then I realized in my brain, Dios dad didn't spend the night that night. He's not supposed to be here. And how could he get in my house at 10 o'clock at night when everybody's asleep? It's the exact same thing. I grab my phone, I turn the flashlight on, but this time I saw like this, again, 0.005 seconds, just like this super pale face, no eyes, no nose, no mouth, but like this menacing feeling attached to it. And again, just like sand, gone. So at this point, I'm not a super religious person, but I feel like I needed some Jesus Christ in this moment. So I go to my parents, I tell them what's been going on. My parents were not a believer before this story. I've always had weird things happen to me throughout my life with paranormal stuff, and they just don't believe me. But I asked my mom to get one of her close friends, a close family friend, to come pray over my room because she's done that type of work for years. She goes and prays over people's houses who have spirits attached to them. So to her, it's just to like entertain me and make me feel safer. So the family friend comes over and she's like, I'm going to go pray over your room and see what's going on. And I was like, perf. She goes up there. She's up there for like an hour, for a very, very, very long time. But who am I to judge? I don't do seances. You know what I mean? I don't know. To sum it up with you, when she did come back downstairs, she talked to my mom for a bit and then she leaves. My mom told me that her friend told her that of all her years doing this, she's never walked into a room or a house and got instantly chills all over her body. And that's exactly what happened when she walked into my room. She said she prayed over it for that long amount of time. Whatever was there was gone. She rebuked it, I guess, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. But she said if it does come back, she like told me certain prayers to do to make it go away. My parents, from that day forward, are complete believers.
Oh yeah, I would be a believer too if I wasn't. I would definitely be a believer after that. That's enough right there for anyone to believe.
In the spiritual realm, I am as well. That was like so terrifying. I haven't seen it since. please, Lord, that was the wrong hand, but you get it. Like, I don't want to see it ever again. But yeah, that's my terrifying story, and I don't have any explanations for it. I have so many other ones that also have witnesses to it, but this is already super long, so this is what I'm going to keep it as. But yeah, so that's my unbelievable ghost story.
Okay, before we move on, I just want to take a poll. Please leave a comment down below. How many of you guys sleep with your door open or closed? Me, I don't sleep with the door open at all. That's not my thing. It's never been my thing since I was a kid. I don't sleep with the door open. It creeps me out. And the fact that your eyes play tricks on you at night, you know, it's just, door closed at all times when I'm asleep. So let me know what you guys do.
This is not so much ghost story as it is paranormal. And is it really paranormal or just something going on with my own mind? I'll tell the story. You can decide for yourself. This goes back to when I was in my 20s, back in the early 1980s. And a bunch of us young, hard-working guys decided that we wanted to go out and have a party on a Saturday night. Now, we were a pretty responsible group of guys, so we picked out ourselves a designated driver, and we set it up so that he'd take care of everything, and the rest of us were good to go. So we went down to our bar, and we proceeded to do just that. Well, pretty deep into the party, there was an emergency call came into the bar, and our designated driver had to leave. It was a serious emergency. I don't remember what, but there was no getting around it. So he had to leave, which left the rest of us in a pretty stuck position, because this was before there was Uber, and in this particularly rural town that I was in, there was no taxi service. So some of the guys were able to find their way home, me not so much. And I made a bad decision. I thought I could.
I'm glad that we have Uber and Lyft now, because even though we've already had taxis for years, Uber and Lyft is so convenient, especially if you need a designated driver.
Make it. Yeah, it was probably only a 3 to 5 mile drive from that bar to where I lived. Got in the car, started driving home, and sure enough, I passed out behind the wheel. And I was awakened shortly thereafter by the blaring of horns, and I mean very big horns, and I woke up, and I am getting ready to dead center punch an 18-wheeler. Now, my hands were at about 10 and 2. My hands were probably about 1 and 3. I tried to turn the wheel to avoid the collision, and that steering wheel would not turn. And I looked down there, and in between my hands was another set of hands that were not mine.
Wait, what?
They were...
What? You seen an extra pair of hands that wasn't yours? Did I just... Okay, let's finish.
Long. They were about twice as long as mine. Bony, grayish blue with black fingernails. They looked like those Halloween gloves that you can buy at Spirit Halloween. They looked just exactly like that, but they were on that steering wheel. And the part that I've never got over is if those hands were on that steering wheel, where was the rest of the body? I couldn't see that. So I try and turn this wheel, it will not move. The gas...
Oh, hell no. Hell no. You tried to turn the wheel and the wheel did not move? Let alone seeing a pair of hands with no body attached. That'll get me to sober up. I could be dead drunk. I'm sober now after seeing this. This is interesting.
Pedal is pegged all the way down, even though my feet are not on any of the pedals. Well, the adrenaline kicked in. I was a pretty big old farm boy back in those days, and I grabbed that wheel and cranked it just as hard as I could. And the instant I did, those hands disappeared. The gas pedal let off. I slapped the brakes, but I instantly lost control of the vehicle. Went off the road, down through a ditch, and right through a farmer's wooden fence.
Wow, that's a blessing, because he just said he was going to be head on with an 18-wheeler. I'm sure if that were to happen, and I'm glad it didn't, he would not have been here no longer. That's a miracle. Even though in the midst of this, of him not hitting anything or anyone, Well, he did hit a fence, like you said, but it could have been worse. That's the best thing that could happen.
Came to a stop in his field. Got out, took a look. Yeah, I made it. I was alive. I was scared as could be. But I was alive and looked like my car could drive. Well, right about that time, pickup pulled up behind me. Two guys got out, came down, checked on me. Yeah, I'm okay. Looks like my vehicle's drivable, blah, blah, blah. You okay, son? Yes, I am. They took off. And I could tell that they knew I'd been drinking. And I could pretty much predict what was going to happen next. And sure enough, real shortly after they left, a state patrolman pulls up. He comes out, looks what's going on, comes down, talks to me. Yes, sir. I'm fine. Vehicle's drivable. One car accident. Blah, blah, blah. Make you nice, right? This old state patrolman, he looks at me. Now, at that time, I was 6 foot tall and about 235 pounds. This guy looks at me. He reaches over, grabs a handful of my shirt with his left hand, lifts me up, and looks me right dead in the eye and says, son, you get home, and you make sure I do not regret giving you a second chance. Yes, sir. Don't have to tell me twice, sir. Thank you, sir. Well, I headed home. It was just a few hundred yards down the road, quite honestly. Went in, dove in bed, got me a couple hours of very necessary sleep, woke up, choked down a couple of cups of instant coffee, grabbed the farm truck and all the tools I needed, and headed right back to where my car had gone to that fence. I was stopped up there on the road, on the embankment, ran down there, tore out the old broken boards, grabbed my rakes and shovels, fixed up his pasture as best I could, grabbed some boards, hammered them back in. Fortunately, everything was white. It was all whitewash, easily matched. I painted it up. I was working just as quietly and as quickly as I possibly could because I wanted to get out of there before the crack of dawn.
That's very noble of him, by the way, of going back and fixing the fence that he ran into, because he didn't have to do that.
Or anybody knew what had happened. So I'm packing up the last of my tools in the truck, getting ready to leave, and I hear behind me this slow clap. I turn around, and there sat the farmer on his porch. And yeah, old Betsy was leaning up against the wall right next to him.
Oh, he wasn't playing.
He looks at me and says, I really appreciate you taking responsibility for that, young man. I'm glad I didn't have to look you up later. Yes, sir, I'm glad of that, too. I looked down at him. What could I say? I said, well, sir, I am sorry for any inconveniences. Does this look good enough? And he looks at me and says, yes, sir, that looks mighty fine. You have yourself a good morning. So I climbed back into my truck, headed home, and started my day. But that is the story of the very last time that I ever drove under the influence. Happy homegoing.
I'm glad that was his last time, his first and last time, even though the circumstances, he was kind of screwed around a little bit. That is an interesting, creepy story. I don't know what to think. Like, there's nothing that you can make sense of it. Like, that's just something that is just, I don't know, it's out of the ordinary. What do you do? I believe it, though. Let me know down in the comments whether you guys believe that story or not.
Oh boy, do I have one for you. So this is all the way back when I was around 8 years old. My mom and my dad decided their first toxic go-around wasn't enough. Hey, let's give it another go. So my mom and my siblings and I moved to this small town along Lake Erie in this house my dad was renting. And it wasn't even in town, okay? It was outside of the already small town in the middle of nowhere on a farm. But also right along the lake. So in terms of views, for days. In terms of anything at all to do, girl, even our boredom was bored, okay? So...
Oh, that's a new one. Even our boredom was bored? That's a bar right there.
We all had to use our imaginations to find something to do. And for the first week or so, things were cool. Boring, but we may do. But one day I got dropped off by the bus after school and my mom's car wasn't there yet for some reason. So the bus driver wasn't supposed to leave us alone if the parent wasn't home. But as she was about to call me back on the bus and take me with her, we see a hand waving through the window, and that was apparently enough for the driver. So she lets me off, I go inside and go to the computer room that my mom had waved from to talk to her about my date. Only when I got there, she wasn't there. So I figured, okay, maybe she was in her room and I just walked past her without looking. Got to her room. Nope. Bathroom. Nope. Kitchen, dining room, living room, any of our rooms at all. Nothing. There was literally nobody in the house. So the next thing I thought was, okay, maybe she went outside before I got in somehow. But when I went outside, I see her pulling in the driveway with her car just then. So now I'm freaked out, and I tell her I think there's a ghost in the house, but...
I'm lost for words because you, not only you, but the bus driver seen a hand wave, which let the bus driver know there's someone home. I can leave you here. What?
She just laughs and tells me it's my imagination working overtime for being out here in the middle of nowhere. And I mean, what could I say? There was literally no proof of anything, so I drop it. Things are fine for a couple days. Then I'm sleeping one night when I get woken up by the sound of my younger brother calling my name. So I say, "What?" And I don't get a response. Then I hear him call my name again. So I say, "What, bro?" Again, no response. So I close my eyes only to hear him yell my name right in my ear. So I shoot up, I'm pissed. I turn on my bedside lamp, ready to swing on him. But he's literally on the other side of the room, under the blanket, fast asleep and slightly snoring. Cue the immediate panic, because the fuck? Now I know there's something in my house. So I scream loud as I can, and within 30 seconds, both my parents are in my room, lights on, asking me what happened. I tell them there's a ghost in the house. It was calling my name, and immediately, they're pissed. It's 3-something in the morning. They both have to get up around 6 for work, and here I was, screaming about ghosts. So my mom tells me it was me having a bad dream, and they tell me to go back to sleep and I'll be fine. But if they thought I was closing my eyes again that night, they were more delusional than my straight boy phase. I was more wide awake than Katy Perry, okay?
You're right. I wouldn't be sleeping either. I would be wired, like I drink a fresh cup of coffee. You couldn't pay me to sleep after experiencing that.
And I wasn't going to sleep for nothing. I stayed awake the whole night, bedside lamp turned on, and went to school tired as hell. I fell asleep several times in class that day, and my teacher decided I must not be feeling well and had my mom come get me to take me home. So I get home, my mom sends me to bed because I must be sick, and I'm happy with that. It's daytime, and whatever was in the house couldn't get me at that time. Yeah, my dumbass already forgot about the hand in the window. So I'm drifting off to sleep, happy as can be, when I hear my mom calling me. So I say, "Yes, Mom?" and don't hear anything, so I close my eyes again, and I hear her yelling my name louder from the other room. So I yell, "Yes, Mom," with my eyes closed. But I wait a little bit and open my eyes when I don't hear anything, and I'm face to face with an old woman leaning over my bed looking at me. Now, if you want a visual of what she looked like, look up the bathtub scene from The Shining, but picture her a little older, and that'll get you pretty close.
Oh, hell no. Throw the whole house away. Mom, dad, siblings. You can come with me, or you could stay. I'm gonna sleep outside, okay? Hell no.
I immediately start screaming and hysterically crying. And Mom comes running. She sits down on my bed and wraps her arm around me, asking me what's wrong. I tell her about the ghost, and she sighs and says, "Justin, there is no good..." But before she could finish her sentence, she looks towards the doorway where she sees the woman too. But in a split second, the woman disappears. But now that I know she sees it, I'm like, okay, cool, Mom knows she's gonna get us out of here. But tell me why my mom turns back to me, looks me in my eyes, and finishes her sentence. "Justin, there is no ghost." And tells me to go back to sleep while walking out of the room. Okay, so I guess Mom, Dad, and a creepy old lady ghost were now teaming up to be my number one ops. At this point, either my family didn't believe me or they didn't care, and both of those terrified me. So I spent the next couple of weeks refusing to sleep at night and falling asleep at school during the day. It was getting to the point where my academic performance was so poor my parents considered pulling me out for homeschool. But despite begging them to leave the house and constantly bringing up the old woman as the reason, they ended up doing exactly nothing. Until one night, I snuck out of the kitchen to grab a snack sometime after midnight. I overheard my parents in the living room discussing me. My dad was saying, "He sees her too. We should really leave." To which my mom said, "He already replied to her when she called to him. There's no point now." And if y'all haven't heard, if you hear a voice or a spirit calling out to you, you do not answer. So I guess I had unknowingly screwed myself and basically invited this creepy asshole back for more. Over the course of several weeks, I would see her everywhere, day or night, always when I was alone, just torturing me mentally. And when I didn't see her, random things would fall off the counter or off the tables or the walls. My parents were arguing nonstop. Not sure if I could place the blame on Ghost Granny for that one, but if it was her fault, she did us all a favor, honestly. But the cherry on top of this fucked up cake came when one day my brother and I were having a Star Wars lightsaber battle in the front computer room. All of a sudden, I hear hissing. So I swing the door closed, and behind it, there's a 6-foot snake staring me dead in my eyes, looking like it was ready to strike. So we both scream, run to my mom, and tell
This sounds like Jumanji. There's no way. You see a 6-foot snake? What?
her there's a snake, and she thought we were pranking her with one of our rubber toys, until she got there and realized we weren't lying. So she goes to bring us to our rooms while she's about to call someone to deal with the snake, but she stops as we're entering the living room and screams. The whole thing is filled up with baby snakes slithering around, and that was the room that she had just been sitting in when we went to get her a minute ago. So Mom picks us up, carries us into the computer room, and makes a run for it past the massive snake. I don't remember this, but Mom says the snake did try to strike and missed, but she got us out safely, waited for the people to come deal with the snakes, and when they got there was nothing. No baby snakes all over the living room, and no massive snake either. I don't remember much of the rest, but Mom tells me she took us all in her car and drove us to a church. I guess we spoke to what I'm assuming was the priest or the pastor there and got some sort of blessing or whatnot. As far as I remember, we never went back to the house. If my parents did to grab anything, I'm not sure, but we ended up moving back with my great-grandpa in actual civilization, and luckily never saw the lady again.
Wow, guys, that was a creepy story. The snakes in the room, and then they're not there anymore. That's creepy. But another thing is, if I'm scared to sleep at night because I'm seeing something and I'm falling asleep at school, don't put me in homeschool. I'm up because there's something taunting me in the house, Mom. But I'm glad that they got out. I'm glad that they moved out of that place, because that is terrifying for any kid, or anyone for that matter, to go through. So let me know which story was your guys' favorite. Which one gave you the creeps? If you guys like this video and you guys like hanging out with me, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. Turn on those post notifications so you can see any time that I post. Until next time, peace.